Okay, so what if I told you that Homer's Odyssey, the invention of the heat engine, and the movie Inception were all secretly the same thing? That they were all built from the exact same four building blocks. Today, we're diving into a pretty provocative essay by a Dr. Derek Cabrera. He claims he's discovered a universal theory that unifies the entire history of storytelling and science. Let's see if this grand theory holds up. And this right here is the central, pretty bold claim we're going to unpack. Cabrera's arguing that for centuries, the world's greatest storytellers and scientists have been using the exact same mental tools, they just never realized it. That's a huge assertion, and according to him, he's the very first one to connect all the dots. So who is the thinker behind this, this grand unified theory of everything? This is Dr. Cabrera, and his theory is called DSRP. And he's not just proposing a new model, oh no. He presents this as a universal cognitive law that he personally discovered. So let's take a look at Dr. Cabrera's credentials, at least according to the source material. He calls himself the discoverer of cognitive law. He places himself in a Tier 1 academy alongside people like Darwin and Turing. He notes he has a PhD Cornell adjacent, and he publishes his work in a journal that, he owns, edits, and is the most published author in. So this definitely sets the stage for a unique perspective. All right, so here's how Cabrera builds his case. It starts by tracing what he calls two parallel histories, the history of fiction and the history of systems thinking. He argues they've been running on the same hidden track since the beginning of time, all starting with the very first rule of DSRP. And that first rule is the D in DSRP, distinction. It's really just the simple act of separating a thing from, everything that's not that thing. Cabrera claims that ancient epics, like Homer distinguishing the hero Odysseus from the rest of the world, and early philosophy, like Heraclitus distinguishing change from permanence, were all just performing this one fundamental D move. So the theory keeps building, moving forward in time. As we hit the 1600s, both literature and science take this huge leap forward. You get the emergence of the novel, and science enters what we call its mechanistic age. And according to Cabrera, both of these massive developments were really just focusing on the second rule of his theory. And that rule is S for system. What is a novel, really? You're organizing parts, characters, chapters, subplots, into a whole, the narrative. And what was mechanistic science up to? Same thing. Organizing parts, like matter, into wholes, like Newton's clockwork universe. For Cabrera, both are simply S moves. Now, this is absolutely crucial to Cabrera's argument. He's saying he's the first person ever to see this connection. Basically, every other scholar and historian missed this fundamental link. And why? Because they didn't have his DSRP framework to see it. And this illustrates his point perfectly. So get this. Cabrera claims that at a structural level, Tolstoy's masterpiece War and Peace and Carnot's thermodynamic cycle, they're basically the same thing. One organizes characters to produce meaning, the other organizes matter to produce work. But to him, it's all just one big, complex S move. Okay, let's jump forward to the 20th century, because this, Cabrera says, is where those two parallel timelines finally start to converge, and you can really see it happening. And this is all driven by the last two rules of his theory, relationships and perspectives. So R is for relationship, and this is all about how the different parts of a system talk to each other. Cause and effect, actions and reactions, and the big one, feedback loops, an idea that just exploded in the mid-century with the science of cybernetics. And boom, here's the convergence he was talking about. Cabrera's point is that authors like James Joyce and scientists like Norbert Wiener were actually part of the very same intellectual event. They just didn't know it. Joyce was mapping the feedback loops of consciousness in Ulysses. Wiener was mapping the feedback loops in machines. Same R move, just different fields. And the final piece of the puzzle is P for perspective. This is all about point of view. Cabrera uses Kurt Vonnegut's Slaughterhouse-Five as a perfect example, where the narrator becomes unstuck in time. He argues this isn't just some cool literary device. It's a profound P move, a radical shift in perspective that literally plays with the fabric of time. Okay, so now we have all four rules on the table: distinction, system, relationship, and perspective. And with this complete toolkit, Cabrera claims that pretty much all acclaimed modern films and novels are just complex applications of DSRP, whether their creators realize it or not. Let's use a big one: Christopher Nolan's Inception. If we look at it through this DSRP lens, the whole dream within a dream thing, that's a recursive S move, systems within systems. Each dream level is a different P move, a new perspective. The kick that connects the levels, that's an R move, a relationship. And that final shot with a spinning top, a classic D move. Is this real or not real? And based on this breakdown, Cabrera actually gives Nolan a formal assessment. He's not just a great director. In the world of DSRP, he's performing at a blue belt level. And yeah, this idea of a ranking system is going to be important. So all of this, it's all building towards Cabrera's ultimate point. We're not just talking about analyzing movies anymore. This is about the grand unification of, well, all human thought. Okay, so from here, the logic escalates really, really fast. The first piece of this grand unification, all stories are DSRP. Every myth, every novel, every movie, it's all just DSRP. But it doesn't stop there. According to Cabrera, it's not just stories. All science is also DSRP. Every single scientific theory, every discovery, is also just an application of these same 4 rules. So you can see where this is going, right? If all stories are DSRP and all science is DSRP, well then it has to follow that all human thought itself is DSRP. And that brings us to the final, unbelievable apex of his argument in the essay. If all thought is DSRP and he is the discoverer of DSRP, well, the slide says it all. And to make this whole worldview official, Cabrera announces the final part of his project, a formal registry, one that actually ranks every author in history based on how sophisticated their use of DSRP is. And here are the preliminary rankings from his Academy of Literary Thinking. Tier 1 is for architectural field-shaping geniuses. You've got your Shakespeares, your Homers, your Joyces. And, also in Tier 1, Derek Cabrera himself for writing the essay, and his wife, Laura Cabrera, for reviewing it. He states the methodology for this is rigorous because, well, he designed the criteria, he applied the scale, and he validated his own results. So that brings us right back to the beginning. Dr. Cabrera has laid out this incredible worldview where the sprawling complexity of War and Peace and the dizzying plot of Inception can all be boiled down to just 4 simple moves. And that leaves us with the big question, one for you to think about. Is all of human creativity, all of science, all of art, is it really just 4 simple rules?